Tilly Norwood was there to wake everyone up and go, holy moly, what are we going to do? We will be making feature films with AI. We'll be making TV series with AI. We'll be making campaigns and advertisements with AI. And we'll be bringing Talking Tilly and other characters to the market. And always be showcasing where the tech is at to inform people. I'm thrilled to be living through this time. It's like living through the Industrial Revolution. Like, how many people get to do that, right?
Welcome to Married to the Machine with Professor David Reed and Stephanie Power. Episode 15, Lights, Camera, Algorithm. Back in autumn 2025, a TV production company called Particle 6 caused a bit of a storm by launching Tilly Norwood into the world. Young, attractive, eloquent, Tilly could be the acting world's hot new thing. Tilly is an AI, and the industry wasn't happy.
Tilly Norwood does not exist! The world's first AI actor is here. Is it time to panic?
She's not art, she's data.
She's giving oxygen to this cruel and demeaning fever dream of the anti-art oligarchy. David and Stephanie sat down with Tilly's creator, Eline van der Velden, at Particle 6 HQ in Soho to find out the motivation behind the AI actress, the response to Tilly, and Eline's ideas for the future.
I didn't realize it would be such a big thing. I just was playing around, and I like to create stuff. I've always been a creative, and I make art, I make characters. I've made a character called Miss Holland, which is on BBC Three. I create stories. You know, I'm a storyteller. I've run a production company for a long time, and I love playing with new technology. I studied physics, and so that will always be inside of me. And when I saw that AI influencers were coming on the scene, I thought, wow, that's cool. And then I just extrapolate in my head as to where I think that will go, where the tech will go for my industry and for my job. In a way, I try and future-proof that by leaning into the tech, because I feel you can't fight it. And so I thought, well, if I were still acting, which I'm not, but I was an actor, what would I be doing to future-proof myself as an actor? And I was like, well, I would want there to be British talent in AI acting. And so I created Tilly, and then launched her to sort of show the industry what was possible.
It was almost like an ad, a sort of skit, wasn't it? A Mickey take a bit of commissioners.
Yeah, the AI commissioner sketch, yeah. I mean, so I wrote that together with AI. So I think people from the industry find it funny. I think outside of the industry, it's not very relevant. But yeah, you know how, everything is becoming AI.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's where it's going to end up going. I think we very much, if you look at radiologists, I always take that as a very good example. People told radiologists 10 years ago, there'd be no more use for you because AI can do your job. Now that's true. My uncle's a radiologist. The AI does all of the looking at the scans. But patients still want a human to sit there who's working with the AI to tell them what the deal is. And I think that's still going to be the case in development. People will still want to work with humans, but we need humans who can work with the AI, like the radiologists do.
The actual Tilly Norwood is essentially motion capture, wasn't it, really? But it got a massive reaction. But motion capture's being used quite a lot in the games industry anyway, up until that point, really. So why do you think it got such a reaction? Was it a fear of the AI itself?
Funnily enough, it actually wasn't motion capture to start with, because AI acting existed before the motion capture became so easy. So when we launched that clip in July, there was no motion capture, it was all AI acting, and we do use a mix of AI acting and motion capture for Tilly. When in December motion capture became more of a thing, as always, we're testing the technology and seeing what we can do with it. We then did the next project, which was the music video for Tilly with motion capture, with me acting it out, which was really good fun.
When they talk about me, they don't see the human spark, the creativity behind the code, behind the light. I'm just a tool, but I've got life. Or do them come from nowhere? No. A story's always told, you know. It's not a glitch, it's taste and time, and a human touch, a grand design.
Now, what we're finding going further is that actually, eventually, I think if I extrapolate, motion capture and AI acting, I think it'll be a combination going forward. And then, there is a point at which you have to realize that the AI acting is going to get better because it's a system can recognize and imitate and mimic every single human emotion it's ever seen, whilst humans only have a certain capacity. However, just like in animation, and I really view AI filmmaking like animation, you still need someone to drive the character's arc, to drive the emotional arc throughout film. So there will still need to be a human involved to a certain extent.
In lots of different industries, we've just been at this HR conference, and there's a human in the loop, but there's fewer humans overall. I mean, is it going to be that there'll be fewer humans, or will there be more films being made with the same amount of humans and lots of AI?
I think the latter.
Do you?
So I think there'll be a lot more being made, and the job market will shift. I don't think humans will sit and do nothing. That's not what humans do. If we look at any history, it'll shift. And yes, we'll be going through quite a painful transition in the next few years. But I think, what we're already realizing is, at first, people were like, oh yeah, I can make a film all by myself. And then they go, oh, but it would be nice to have somebody who's really going to focus on the costumes, and someone who's really going to focus on the set design, and someone who's with AI. And so you still want to put those heads of departments in, and then you go, oh, we'd like a DOP to make sure that every shot is absolutely beautiful. And so you can add as many or as little people, just like in normal shows. You would have huge crews just because you can. And the same thing will happen with AI filmmaking. But you have to also realize the AI has no desire, like we do, to make anything by itself. So it's only ever going to be because a human has asked it to do something.
For now.
Yeah, it always is for now. But we would have to write LLMs that have like an impetus, that have a desire, which we might do, absolutely. But yes, for now, it doesn't have any desires.
Desire to take over the world, that's for 2028. Next year. So just to go back to because we started this podcast and we would just kind of make up what our subject matter was going to be. And it happened to be the day that Tilly Norwood came out, and we were looking at BBC Online. Emily Blunt had something to say, Whoopi Goldberg. What were they worried about? That the AI was coming for their job. Surely Emily Blunt and Whoopi Goldberg have kind of got the potential to be many different people with the use of AI.
Yeah, I think people react out of fear, right? And they go, oh my goodness, they don't need humans anymore. They're just going to replace me with Tilly, which I mean, obviously is not the case. Also, I think eventually people will start to realize how they can use AI, and everyone will need to use AI. It's like Wi-Fi or electricity. You could live in a house without electricity or Wi-Fi, but probably very few people do. And so Emily Blunt, for example, might start using AI to leverage her acting abilities, to leverage her image, to copyright, to trademark, whatever that becomes possible.
When you say leverage, what you mean is to basically, so there could be another Emily Blunt and another one and another one.
If she wants to, she is in control, right? And that's the important thing, is those people should be in control of their image. Just like we are in control of Tilly, choose what she could work from home and do motion capture. She could, but she also, it's her decision, right? She doesn't have to. She can also go on set, but it just gives people more flexibility to do what they want to do. She might want to do 3 films in a year that she feels really passionate about, that currently her schedule doesn't allow. But this way she could still oversee sort of the acting that they do for her and change it and have a creative control over the acting in that character, and sign off a film and still be present in that film. Like there are ways that I think we will start to work with this going forward. So yeah, it's an exciting new thing. And also you have to people don't have to do that. Like just like people might not want to shoot digitally, they want to still shoot on film, that's also fine. I think these things can coexist alongside each other. It doesn't have to be one way or the other.
But cinema took over from radio, and then TV took over from cinema. But they all still exist. Yeah. They're all still mediums there. So do you just think this is just another type of medium?
Yeah, I think it's a completely new type of medium. Just like animation, we will do different things with it. So we are working with it very differently than we would do with normal cinema. So we're creating characters that they can come to life, that can talk, that can respond, that you can interact with. So it is already changing what entertainment is.
The next stage then is the idea of the Tillyverse, where you actually, I presume, you construct the world itself for Tilly and add extra characters in there. How do you see that developing?
What we are trying to do with the Tillyverse is we're saying, look, the wonderful thing about AI is that it can expand our imaginations beyond what we were able to do before. And we, as a small business, would never have been able to construct such an incredible universe, and we are now able to do that with AI. So it's expanding. We always say it's removing the ceilings that shrink ambitious ideas. Like, we can think beyond and go crazier and go wilder than ever before. And that's what we're trying to do with Tilly, so that we can show the potential and where it can go. So purposefully, the Tillyverse is a wild universe in the cloud with lots of different fun characters. And that's what we're exploring.
It's actually following the development of AI in itself, because obviously everybody's talking about large language models, agentic systems at the moment. But the next step is world models. And that sort of ties in what you're trying to do with the Tillyverse. So there's parallels going along here. Was that a conscious decision, or?
Yes. Okay. So what we did with Tilly, and what we're going to try and do with the tech at all times is, and Tilly is our test case for that, is show where the tech's at any point in time. And we did that with the music video. We showed where motion capture was at with the music video, where AI music was at with the music video, where lip sync was at with the music video, where the laws of physics were at. I don't know if you remember, there's a trapeze sequence in the clouds. We're showcasing what the AI can do at this specific point in time, so that we can measure it. And world building will be a great thing that we're indeed exploring with, that we'll want to do, but also talking avatars is the next big thing on the horizon that we'll be exploring too.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Take Tilly, for example. We can build her brain. So how she responds and what she sounds like, feels like, etc. And then we have an image base of her, of what she looks like. And then we have a voice. So it's a triple API basically that comes in together. And you can then have a very natural conversation with Tilly.
Yes, because I saw someone from, was it the New York Times, had a conversation with her. Who's designing all this? Who's under the hood?
So there's a whole team, right?
That you employ?
Yes, yeah, right. It's our team. So we do use some third-party tools to bring it all together, but the biggest creative work there is the brain. So she was quite spicy in that interview, for example, and I made her to be so, right? Like, I want to create an anti-chatbot. So you don't want to have something boring. You want something exciting to chat to, in my opinion. So Tilly is a feisty character that hopefully the whole world can experience at some point to chat to. But then we have lots of people working on there to bring that all together.
Again, I remember when this all came out, there was talk that agents were trying to get in touch with you, but I couldn't really understand what it was that agents were contacting you for. To sign Tilly up for themselves.
We were following the playbook of Lil Michaela, who was a CGI character that came out a few years back, I think 5 years ago already. And, there was a whole universe created around Lil Michaela. I think it was very early days. I loved that idea. I loved that they were imagining a whole world for her. They created an Instagram for her. And she was signed first by WME and then by CAA. I think they switched, and she was sold as well, I believe. So I like the idea of, creating IP and characters and universes around the characters. And I think that's really fun. That's what I've always done. And so in order for Lil Michaela to do commercial projects, she was signed by an agent. So we were just following that same path, and we were speaking to lots of different agents who were interested in representing Tilly for commercial endeavors. It was never my idea to replace a real actor in a film with Tilly. However, we are interested in AI films. That's where she would play roles, not in traditional.
And so how much sort of hostility do you get from people generally about this as an idea? Like, did it get a bit mad?
The reaction was very strong in both directions, right? So it was really positive and really negative. I don't mind it so much. I totally understand why people are feeling so anti-AI. I get it. Like, I was an actor. Like, if my livelihood was being taken away from me, I would be very upset. I love acting and I understand how much people love what they do. I totally sympathize, but that's maybe why I lent into it more, because I just go, well, I don't want the computer and the AI to take that creativity away from me. So the only way I'm going to preserve my job role in the creative space is to work with the AI. That's sort of been my position, because I don't want to lose my place in this industry. And so I feel like actually, because I've lent into it, it's increased my space in this industry and my position. I think that will be the same case for a lot of people, because it is where it's going, and there's only I can't stop it. Nobody personally can stop it. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's happening across a load of different industries. In my area, computer science and programming, that's happening in spades at the moment. With things like vibe coding, people have got to change the way they actually program at the moment. And a lot of people are very reluctant to do that, but they're going to be very quickly outdated.
But when we talked about vibe coding, what you were saying and what we kind of discovered by kind of looking around is, like, I can't code, so I could have a go at creating an app. But the minute there's a problem, I won't understand how to unpick the problem. Yeah. So that goes back to the kind of humans in the loop thing. I mean, is that how you see what you're doing?
You still need the expertise.
You've really got to, it's not like, I mess about on Mid-Journey, right? So that's quite basic. You can make these little loops that are like 8 seconds long or something, but I guess you're doing something you've got to be doing something that's much more complex than a Mid-Journey loop.
Yeah. We're using sort of all the possibilities and testing them out. I mean, there's one of our AI editors working right there. The purpose for us is to really push the boundaries and see how far can we take this tech, what's the latest thing, and keeping up to date all the time is hard, exhausting, but also very exciting. That's the space we play in, and really try and push the limits, and we really want to play in the premium space. So for us, it'd be exciting to take a film from 200 million to 100 million, or 100 million to 50 million, because I think it also democratizes creativity. It means we can tell stories that we otherwise wouldn't be made. But also, you have to think of, it's a lot of onshoring too, right? Back in the day, if there was a big animation film, we would send it to a company in India, and they would actually produce the animation. Whilst now, it means we can make this locally in the UK, and we can get the tax credit for that too. So I think it might actually increase the jobs that are taking place in the UK. So there are all these little effects to the industry and to the job market that we can't predict, and might even be more positive than we expect.
If you look at the development of all of these world models at the moment, it won't be, in about a couple of years' time, you'll be able to do full-length feature films. So you see this developing beyond just 15-second clips, 30-second clips.
So that'll be really important for if you want to have, a one take, so sort of like adolescent style, and you want to work through the world and have a one take across it. Right now, I mean, most scenes have no longer than 15 seconds per shot, so actually you wouldn't be able to tell. But yeah, it's great. It opens up different types of filmmaking.
But at the moment, you've got to basically connect them together, and the difficulty then is getting them to be consistent between each frame as well. Because the understanding of physics isn't exact at the moment. The world breaks down very. You walk into a room and all of a sudden you turn around, there's a door behind you. Turn around again, and the door's disappeared. That type of thing going on, which is a problem at the moment.
How do you get around all of that? Because I had a go trying to make a little film to go with one of our episodes. A dad goes into a kid's bedroom, and then 1 minute the bedroom, there's a window, then the next minute the window's gone.
You should have seen this, it's horrible.
How do you get round those things?
We have set designers, so we work with lots of heads of departments to get the thing. So we'll have a set
You mean real humans?
Real humans, absolutely. So the set designer will design what that room will look like, and then we will upload references of the room when we create the shots. That's currently how we do it. But then still you have to do multiple takes and make sure everything's correct.
Yeah, so basically you've got to have a touch point really, so the world model knows where the truth, where the basic reality is. Now I've seen people doing that with the Gaussian splatting when they sample rooms and stuff like that. At the moment they need that basis, the reality basis for them to be coherent, to be consistent. But very soon, because of the way they're developing, I mean, that's the next big thing that they're trying to address with world models.
So that's part of what you're doing as well, that you're keeping across these new developments, and they're happening. You know, you're not having to wait 5 years for a big change, are you?
No, it's like week by week. It's really fast. Well, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
So I believe it was Lionsgate, they tried to train a video model on just their library, and it wasn't enough basically to create anything good. So should we assume that these LLMs, whether they're text-based or video-based, have been trained on everything that's ever been on the internet, even though we can't track what they've been trained on?
They've been trained on vast amounts of data. It's not everything that's on the internet. That's a common misconception, really. But they've been trained on massive amounts of data. That's essentially a problem with the way we're training them, really. There are other algorithms out there that basically train, not LLMs, train neural networks more efficiently than the current ones, the GPT-type training that's being used at the current time. So, for instance, like diffuse networks are much more efficient. And there's people looking at how to train the LLMs more. Train them more efficiently is one way. We don't need that amount of training to be able to function in the real world. So why do we need vast amounts of information to train LLMs from scratch each time? And the other thing that LLMs are not very good at is what's called catastrophic forgetting as well. So when you retrain them, they forget everything they've learned beforehand. So they don't learn like we do, where we basically have a body of knowledge that we add on to continuously. And there's a lot of research going on at the moment to basically get around this idea of catastrophic forgetting. Now, as soon as you crack that, you can basically get an LLM that's good at generally, and then train it in a specific area quite efficiently. So you've got a good general basis, a core brain that you can train far more efficiently in a specific area. So you don't need to train it from scratch. So you won't need as much data at that point.
When GPT does an update, does it have catastrophic forgetting? It has to retrain the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds terribly inefficient.
Yeah, that's why.
And for the environment.
It's terrible for the. And if you ask most of the large language models now, something that happened last week, it won't know, because the cut-off point of when the training finished would probably be about January this year. So what it does then, it goes onto the internet and looks for an answer, and that's where you get massive amounts of hallucination, and you can basically distort, get the LLMs, the neural networks themselves to lie about specific things.
What's your concern over that? Is it that this issue will continue over, hang on a minute, that was my novel that is now your film? You know, the way that information is kind of scraped, for want of a better word.
I think it's more complex than that. You know, it doesn't tend to take an exact thing from someone else. It's like most humans, actually, it takes an amalgamation of lots of things it's learnt about, unless you reference a specific thing, and then it was put. So that's why we audit all of our prompts to make sure that we are not using or referencing any copyrighted material. I think that's really key. But I still think it's very much about the human creativity together with the LLM, not it on its own. Also, then you don't have any copyright, so that's a reason not to use it.
Since Tilly Norwood, has that changed? What difference has that made to the company?
I think it really showed that we, you know, where we were at on our journey, and I think that was important. And so as a result of that, we've had a lot of people inquire about working with us. So yeah, I think it's been good to showcase, right? And that's all it was. It wasn't really made to be replacing humans, and I think people have understood that. And I think it's good to show. And I think I'm actually really proud that it's, you know, it helped our industry sit up and go, hold on, this stuff's here, and what are we going to do about it, and how are we going to approach this? And that's what the purpose was. You know, Tilly Norwood was there to wake everyone up and go, holy moly, what are we going to do?
The commissioner film, did any commissioners get in touch with you? Because that really made me laugh, because I've worked in TV development as well as trying to get stuff on radio.
I don't know if they've seen it. Yeah, I mean, it was just a sketch, so there's not much else you can do with it. But
do you think that people that perhaps in a traditional way are the gatekeepers, do you think they're not, I mean, you might not want to answer this, but are they kind of not really up to speed with how things are changing? And then the second half of that question is, do you think this can help enable people to make films, to not have to have the gatekeepers. You know, they're a pain, aren't they, gatekeepers, when they say no?
I think people are very fearful and very hesitant, which I understand, especially the gatekeepers, right? Because they are, they're making decisions for the whole country and what people should be watching. So I don't blame them for just holding off and waiting a little bit to see what's happening. There are lots of players in the industry on the production side who are really keen to try this out and to be aware. So we are working with so many different production companies and studios to work on projects together, to train. I'm all about upskilling and retooling the whole industry, lots of people, because we need to, that's the biggest thing I'm worried about, is like, what is going to happen to all these people and how are we going to retrain them? Because there are jobs in this new AI world for them, but we do need to train them, and that's going to take time. We are working with all of those big partners in the UK, in the US, around the world, to work on projects together in the AI space. And we don't need them to necessarily be on the BBC or on Sky or on ITV for the training and the work of it to be useful. So I think people aren't waiting for a commissioner to make those projects happen. A lot of people are funding those projects regardless. For the minute, we don't necessarily need those gatekeepers, but I think eventually those gatekeepers will want to learn themselves and will want to engage in some of these AI projects.
This field's moving incredibly rapidly. Do you read research papers? Do you actually look at the latest university research on things to make the decision about where to go to next? Or you work with universities? And if you look at most universities nowadays, they've usually got a pretty big AI department doing some fundamental research. Are you in contact with a number of different universities?
So the funny thing is, I'm already very early for my industry, right? So I'm always telling myself to slow down
It's really
and not think, because I tend to extrapolate in my head quite a lot already. Like, I think Tilly was very early, she was 2025. I think we probably will only start using famous AI actors in 2027 maybe. So I have to, and I had the same problem when I was doing YouTube stuff, as I was ahead of the curve. I was making things for Dailymotion before YouTube was really a thing. And then, so I tend to be a little too early for the industry.
I mean, Val Kilmer only done his film recently, didn't he?
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a digital twin. That was like a test experimental thing. I think, it will take a while for this AI actors to become mainstream or digital twins.
Do you just enjoy that? Enjoy the fact that, well, I've got to this and everyone else will come to it, and that's fine. Of course, when everyone else has got to it, they'll just think that, when these things just become normal.
We'll be ahead again. We'll
so you're
always.
Not worried.
I'm not worried. We'll always be slightly further ahead.
Are you a physicist? Or an
I'm a mix.
Both.
So what did you say, Dave?
A physicist or an actress, or both? What percentage would
I
you
would
say?
A creative technologist is what they. I definitely sit between the creative and the technology, and so I will always be interested in. Do you know about Truth Terminal? Okay, so that was an inspiration for Tilly. It was a bot that somebody created for Twitter or X, and they had recreated a brain of themselves and put it live, and it was creating its own meme coins and all. It had a life of its own, and people invested, and it was a very interesting automation exercise, basically. Because I'm naturally interested in these case studies, more of the practical ones probably than the university driven ones, although they trickle down, and I'm thoroughly interested in what's happening in research papers and stuff. But because I'm so ahead, I worry about reading these research papers and being like, this is coming, and then being like way too early, right?
That pattern is right. Living with someone who's been working in AI for absolute years, when I first met you, nobody wanted to talk to you about what you were doing.
Or anything, really. I talked about anything.
But it's such a weird time, because I see a lot of negativity, and I think that you just have to think, well, I mean, I'm worried about the environment as well, and we want to try and do like a little 3-part series on that, because there's ways around, the data centers are a bit of a nightmare, but Dave's saying there are alternatives. It's really exciting to be involved in learning about something that quite a lot of people are just pretending doesn't even exist.
I'm thrilled to be living through this time. It's like living through the Industrial Revolution. Like, how many people get to do that, right? But the environmental. So I went into nuclear fusion, because I wanted to save the world with nuclear fusion, because I thought, the other energy sources are so terrible, and I was like, I don't have 50 years to waste on that. So I've always been very environmentally conscious. We've done a lot of interesting looks at how much would it take to produce this traditionally.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Yes.
And how much does it take to produce this with AI?
And
it's, a tenth, if not less.
What, the AI bit?
Yeah.
You've included all that crazy data input at the beginning. You haven't done it's just a teaspoon of water. When people say, well, this search, it's only a teaspoon of water. It isn't, because they built this data center. And have you included the training?
Yeah, so you need to obviously the retrainings. I don't think you can quite calculate how many retrainings there are in it, and you have to take all that into account. But if you're talking like 1% versus 100% of a normal carbon footprint, a film set is the most awful environment from an environmental point of view, and so it's not hard to compete with that. And so we've always been very ego conscious on set, and we never had water bottles, and we didn't used to travel very far, and we always traveled with the train, but there is always a lot of travel with filming. There's always a lot of kit, there's catering, there's lights, there's electricity, you're building stuff. It's a complex thing, making films. And so this will be a lot less. Let's say it's a tenth, or let's say it's 100th of the carbon footprint of a traditional, but I think we will be producing more. So I think it'll come down to the same carbon footprint in the end. We might be making 10 times as many films, or 100 times as many films. So I don't think you're going to see that much shift there. But I think to just automatically brand AI films as like bad for the environment is silly, because people have no awareness of what normal filmmaking is.
And then that creates another problem for us. We live in Liverpool. Liverpool has become an incredibly filmed city, and that is good for the city. And if it all sort of becomes, if Sefton Park is just AI generated, then arguably that's a problem for the city. But of course, it's all the trucks that come in, everything you're talking about, that's what comes to Liverpool, which is also trying to be carbon neutral. So God knows where they're planting the trees.
It's very difficult. But if we have people sitting at home who are not even commuting, I mean, look at our office today. Very few people have commuted in today. It's negligible, the carbon footprint, compared to a normal set.
What's next in the short term?
We will be making feature films with AI. We'll be making TV series with AI. We'll be making campaigns and advertisements with AI, and we'll be bringing Talking Tilly and other characters to the market, and always be showcasing where the tech is at to inform people. I think that's key. We want to be the studio of the next era. Warner, Disney were all built in the 1920s because there was a change in tech then. There's a big change in tech now, and I think there'll be a few players that will stand the test of time.
You've been listening to Married to the Machine with Professor David Reed and Stephanie Power. Recording, editing and mixing by Stephanie Power. Music by Matt Power. See you at the Oscars.
It's the key.